when the folks at Obsbot released the Tiny 2 last year, it quickly became the go-to for a lot of people who needed to use a quality webcam for their business, for their work, sometimes even for their streaming. In my opinion, it was better than the Insta360 offering. In my opinion, it's better than anything Logitech offers. So to me, it became the go-to for webcam use. This year, the folks at Obsbot have outdone themselves. They've taken all of the great features of the Tiny 2 and they've released them in a more affordable package, and they've dubbed it the Tiny 2 Lite, newly released webcam that has so many great features that we're used to out of the Tiny 2, and now we have it in a $179 package. It has a 1/2 inch, a half-inch CMOS sensor, and it's going to give us our preset modes that we're used to using for our presentations. Whenever we're needing to make some kind of presentation for video, for work, and we need to be able to move that camera to different locations for the things that we're presenting, all we have to do is click on the presentation preset, and it pans, tilts, and zooms to the preset where you've set it. It's also going to give us body tracking. Let me get that turned on for you so I can show you what that looks like right quick. We track, and all of a sudden, this keeps us in frame. It's very smooth. It doesn't jerk. It's not slow. It's going to keep me where I want to be. And I find myself using auto tracking very often in the consultations that I use because I'm reaching for this or reaching for that. I don't want to go out of screen to bring the things to me. So this auto tracking is fantastic. Not only does it allow us to track, but if I've moved away from my computer where I can click the button in the OBSBot Center app, I can just do the gesture. And all of a sudden, again, it's tracking me however I need it to track, or wherever I need it to track me. Not only does it give me that gesture, but it also gives me the others where I can zoom in or zoom out with those simple gestures. Just make sure you've got those turned on in the software and you're good to go. Now, built into this little package is an omnidirectional microphone, actually a dual microphone setup. It's going to pick up our voice in this very difficult room. It's echoey still. I still don't have things on the wall to help with sound deadening. Here's what it sounds like to be using the built-in microphone, and I am almost 3 feet away from the microphones in the Tiny 2 Lite, so you can tell what my voice sounds like in that. It's going to give me an autofocus. Now I've set the focus and turned it off so that it's not trying to find me with this particular background. Sometimes the autofocus will jump back and forth, and I didn't want that. But in the software, we can turn on autofocus, and it gives me a phase detection autofocus, which turns out to be really fast and really pretty accurate. It does have the option of letting me use a background blur. Now there's just a little bit of a natural bokeh here. I can see it. But you can actually set it up to blur out the background. It does give you a little bit of that little halo that you get sometimes when that's done as a computer generated option. Again, that has to be done recording through the app, not recording. I'm recording this through QuickTime on my iMac. The Obsbot Tiny 2 Lite is going to give us all of our camera control features. We have focus, auto, or manual. Exposure can be auto or manual, and I can choose to have the exposure focus on my face or the entire picture, however I want to do that. It's going to give me some anti-flicker, and I notice in QuickTime, one of the things that I did not see in the OBSBot Center app when I was looking at the picture there is a little bit of, let's see if I can point to it, a little bit of noise right here in the corner. We'll see if that comes through on the final product or not, but I'm seeing it as I'm recording. Our white balance is something that I can let it be auto or manual as well. And then I have controls for contrast, saturation, sharpness, and hue. I have a full range of camera controls built into the software. I can turn HDR on or off, and that's depending on the lighting or the situation that you have. It's going to allow me to have some privacy as well. I can either manually flip down the lens and it points straight down. When it times out and goes to sleep, it points straight down. Or I can use the remote with the Tiny 2 Lite, and when I turn it off, it's going to go into into a privacy mode. You can set it so the microphones also are turned off when it's on privacy mode. Comparing this to the Tiny 2 that I'm now talking to, side by side, the two cameras, you can tell that there's a little bit different field of view. The Tiny 2 Lite is a little bit zoomed out. The Tiny 2 is a little bit closer to me, so your field of view is going to be just a little bit different. So comparing the two cameras, quality back and forth, you can see that you've got a fantastic quality image out of the Tiny 2 Lite at a much more attractive price point. $179 gets you into this little unit. Looks very similar to the original Tiny 2. It doesn't have the magnetic mount. The mount on this one is built in. Does have the quarter 20 in the bottom, so you can mount it on a tripod. You can tip it sideways to get a 90-degree, a portrait oriented set up here so that you can stream to any of the destinations that would require that portrait instead of the landscape view that we use here on YouTube. If you need to step away from your computer while you're making your presentation and you've got your remote, all you have to do is click on your preset button on the remote there, and it goes to the preset view that you have set up. It does so quickly and it does so effectively. It remembers it every time. As a matter of fact, um, the remote is a great tool to have for any of the Obsbot PTZ webcams that they produce. Taking the best features of the Obsbot Tiny 2 and repackaging them in the Tiny 2 Lite and giving consumers a much better price point is just one of the ways that Obsbot has their end consumer in mind. They do a great job in customer service. They do a fantastic job taking feedback. It sounds like they listened to the feedback that came out from the Tiny 2 and they created the Tiny 2 Lite, and I think you and I are better off for it. If you haven't looked at it yet, there is a purchase link in the description for both their site and for Amazon, and there's a discount code that you can use, and it works on either of those sites. Go in and take a look and tell me what you think about the OBSBot Tiny 2 Lite.